Hey everybody, Dimitri here, and I'm just going to give you a quick review of this Bridgestone E50 Extreme tire. There's not a lot of reviews out there about it online. There's one from Kyle Brotherson of Dirt Bike Channel from a few years back, and it's a good review, but his riding style and terrain is very different than when we ride here on the kind of more eastern side of the United States. So I just wanted to give you a review from a medium to hard enduro perspective of a B-class rider. And here it is. So I have used this tire for TKO, so for the Tennessee Knockout. And now I'm out here in my local riding area doing some hill climbs and some just playing around. There's all kinds of terrain out here, which is except for big hills, but other than that, there's rocks, there's sand, there's little hill climbs, there's roots, there's lots of little techie single track. So and the main thing is that I ride out here a lot on all different tires that I've used. So I feel like this is a good back-to-back comparison with some of the other kind of more medium enduro technical terrain tires that I've personally experienced. So the first thing I want to mention is that this is a style of a tire that is more like the small knobby FIM tire. I don't think it's actually FIM approved, but it's the similar style. And there's two different kinds of styles. I feel like this is not talked enough about out there. There's two different kinds of extreme tires. There's ones that grip with their rubber, and there's ones that rely on knobs. And tires like the V33S, the GX8, some of the tires that have the bigger knobs, the taller knobs, they work really well both in situations where they need to kind of wrap around the terrain and in situations where you actually just use the knob to kind of dig into the ground and propel you forward. This tire, along with the Michelin, along with the Mitas, is of a different kind. This tire really relies on the grip of the rubber. So it really relies on you having weight on the pegs and actually gripping the dirt, because as soon as you start spinning, you're done. As soon as you take weight off this tire, you're done. So you can do hero moves as long as you keep the tire in traction and you don't let it spin. And you do that by keeping the weight on the bike, whether it's on the pegs, on the back of the seat. But this tire needs to have some weight on it because it relies on that adhesion to the actual terrain. So on stuff like this here, this is kind of slippery but also kind of hard pack. This tire works really well here because it doesn't really need to dig into the dirt. It just kind of conforms to the outside of the dirt and uses the knobs to propel you forward. I was able to climb stuff here very easily. I was actually purposely stopping in the middle of the hills to kind of try to see if I can keep going. And this doesn't look like anything on camera, but it's pretty steep. And this tire just climbs. And it's pretty loose too, which, again, as soon as you start spinning, you're done. But as long as you can keep it in traction, you can do super, super well. So that's kind of my main feedback about this tire, is that if you ride a lot of stuff that's like thick mud and places where you need to spin the tire, this is probably not a good choice. But if you ride a lot of technical kind of more hard pack stuff where you need the tire to conform, and not necessarily even hard pack, but it could be like greasy clay or things where you don't spin the tire, it works super well. It works really well over wet logs, wet roots, all kinds of stuff. I was just riding one of my woods turn tracks, which has a bunch of slippery side roots, and this tire stays super planted over them. It's great. Where some of the caveats with this tire First of all, it is pretty narrow. So I'm actually running a Moose in it. I'm running a 140 Moose, and the Moose is probably a little bit too big for it. So it's a drilled Moose. It's pretty soft. It's probably about equivalent of about 4 PSI in there. So it's, you know, the tire's got a decent amount of give, but it's, it probably could use a softer Moose or a smaller Moose, because it's actually a pretty small 140 tire. It's probably closer to like, actually it is very similar in terms of width to a JX8. I actually measured them. They're almost identical. A 110 GX8, just to be clear. And the other thing about it is that it's kind of round. The profile of it is pretty round, so compared to some other tires, so it is a little bit unnerving on rocks. There's a couple of rock gardens in here. I'll throw in some footage that I ride a lot, and there's a lot of round rocks. Same thing at TKO, is there's a lot of round rocks, and the tire, you feel very unbalanced when you are riding this tire on those, because it keeps wanting to roll off the rock. So it's a little bit unnerving from that perspective. The wear on it is actually pretty good. It's hard to see here with the dirt on it, but it really didn't wear that much at all. Like, you can still see the little, what they call castle blocks in here. After 3 races at TKO and me riding a bunch today, there's definitely wear on the leading edge, but it's not bad, and it wears very evenly. It doesn't rip off the knobs or do anything weird like some other tires, at least so far. We'll see how it lasts. So yeah, just to summarize, you know, this is a extreme enduro tire that likes to grip instead of spin, and likes to conform to terrain. Works, in my experience, really well in dirt and roots and wet logs and kind of things like that. Side hills, okay. I wasn't as impressed as I was going, or I thought I was going to be with these side knobs. It doesn't side hill that great, but it climbs really well in dirt. Rocks, I don't love it. It has good grip, but because it's so round, it's kind of unstable. And finally, if you're using a Moose, you might want to downsize depending on how soft you want to go, because if you use a 140 Moose, you're at minimum going to either have to shave it or drill it very aggressively. It will install in there fine, but it is going to be potentially a little bit stiffer than what you're expecting. So as far as faster riding, I took it on both of my turn tracks here. I have a grass track and a woods track, and it actually does really well, especially in the woods track. This is where the side knobs, I feel like, actually work super well. The tread pattern design of this tire is from a medium terrain enduro tire, the regular E50, and you can feel it. This is it's very stable. I think like it more as a going fast tire than I do as a extreme enduro tire. The only thing that I don't super like about it is I don't feel like it brakes that well, especially in looser terrain. Probably because the knobs are shaped more to help you climb stuff, and they're kind of almost, it's a directional tire. So I do feel like I slide a little bit more under aggressive rear braking. But it is a really good, even with, approximately 4 PSI in there, the carcass is fairly stiff. So it actually is a very confidence-inspiring tire for quicker riding. So I'm not going to compare it directly to other tires, because I think every tire is different and is good at different things. But I think it's, approximately on the same level, maybe good at different things as a IRC JX8, IX09, Kenda Gnarly, Mitas, Double Green, kind of tires of that nature, tires designed for extreme enduro. And it is a step above from things like the Shinko Cheaters, the V33S, specifically if we're talking about more of this kind of super technical, quote, hard enduro type riding where grip is at a premium. So I'm over here playing around on this hill. It's my no run uphill, and I measure it, how close I start by this branch. And it made me remember another thing about this tire that's kind of curious. It's got this propensity to spin and then grip. And it's really weird. I can't remember if I felt another tire do that. Maybe the Dunlop AT81 EX kind of did that. But if you are really aggressive on the throttle and you kind of give it the beans, like here, I'm trying to second gear, load the flywheel, drop it, and fly up this hill, and it will spin and then grip really aggressively to the point that I almost can't get enough in front of the bike, and I end up being a little behind on the bike. But it's a really interesting thing that this tire does that caught me off guard initially. Like, it has no grip, and then it all of a sudden has a ton of grip, and it's really curious. So yeah, if you guys mention in the comments if you tried this tire and you felt the same thing, because it's kind of interesting. So that's it, guys. I'm getting eaten by mosquitoes, so I'm gonna get back to riding. If you guys have any questions about this tire, or my experience with other tires, or recommendations for other tires, or maybe different moose setups or anything else, definitely leave a comment. I look forward to hearing from you, and see you guys out in the trails.